Hey there, I'm Kevin Downey, and I run an agency called Kevin M. Downey where we help B2B companies with their sales and marketing efforts. You can visit our website at kevinmdowney.com. Okay, today's topic, how do you build a business development system for a B2B company that generates leads and appointments for your sales team like crazy, right? So how do you do that? How do you think about it? What's the process? So a couple of things. There's only two media that are going to consistently day-to-day drive leads for any B2B company. That's number one, reps doing cold outreach, and number two, high volume automated email designed to elicit a response. Okay, and I talk about email and other videos. You can dig into that if you really want to learn about email marketing and how to do it correctly. But those are the two things that are going to work to drive leads day after day after day. Okay, LinkedIn's not going to do it, not in any kind of regular volume. Certainly you can do all the things with your marketing team maybe really good trade shows and high-powered webinars are pretty good, but they're not something you're doing all the time. Those are really good. PPC, again, drives leads, but not really consistently in B2B because there's not enough searches. And then you have all the stuff your marketing team can do with collateral and all kinds of fun stuff and podcast stuff and all that. It's great. And it's great backdrop, YouTube videos like what we do. But those by themselves aren't going to generate leads, not day after day after day, right? So how do you do it? Two media, it's reps or it's email or both, okay? So how do you decide whether or not email is the anchor, the driving force in your cold outreach? So when it comes down to prospect list size, that's the ultimate answer to the question. If you have a prospect list, if you're nationwide, regional, and your prospect list is tens of thousands, 100,000 plus, and we have a couple of clients whose prospect lists are over 500,000, email can be your anchor. That doesn't mean that your BDRs or your sales teams or your SDR or BDR team isn't doing cold outreach to a niche audience, but email can be your anchor at that point, okay? So think prospect list size first. If you come and you want to work with us as an agency, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get you on a call on Google Meet, Microsoft Teams, Zoom, whatever is your fancy. We're going to dig into Apollo and we're going to build a prospect list. And we're going to look at how big it is. If your prospect list size is big enough, then email's the answer as the anchor to what you need to do. We'll talk about the rep thing in a minute here while you're doing email, but then email's your anchor. If your prospect list size is, less than 50,000, certainly when you get down to 10 or 20,000 or less, now reps need to be your anchor, okay? That doesn't mean you can't do automated email, but there's not enough people to go after to make it your anchor. So now your reps need to be your anchor. So when we talk about reps, who do we mean? Okay, well, that comes down to your sales team structure and how much your reps cost, right? We've seen a lot of movement now in the United States when we're dealing with higher dollar sales teams where reps are making base salaries north of 75,000, certainly 100,000 or more. I have a very hard time having reps that are making 125,000 guaranteed and are OTEing at 200 plus for them to be sitting there and doing cold calling. That doesn't make any sense. Too hard to get a hold of prospects and decision makers these days. Too much research goes into it. It makes more sense to utilize dedicated BDR, SDR team, business development reps to do that cold outreach for or on behalf of your sales team. Okay. Now, if your sales team salaries are only in the 40, 50,000, maybe 60, now you could justify them doing their own cold outreach or their own business development. Does that mean I wouldn't utilize, say, reps in Latin America to also augment that or help that by reaching out to companies, just gathering intel and finding out who the decision maker is for my sales guys so that way they have an easier leg up going into companies? Sure, I think that's a great thing to do. And we've certainly seen some contraction in sales teams and increasing spend in email infrastructure as well as dedicated BDR, SDR type teams, whether in the United States or Latin America, doesn't matter. We're seeing more investment in those things and less investment in the sales teams themselves. In other words, if the sales reps can't generate the leads they need to generate for themselves, for you to get ROI out of those sales reps within a reasonable amount of time, then begs the question, okay, do we add sales reps to add sales anymore? Again, it depends on the size of the company that you have, the size of your sales team, your threshold, how long you can wait to get ROI out of those reps. If you're an enterprise company, it's fine. You can take 18 months for the rep to get to ROI. That's okay. But when we're dealing with small business and even mid-market, it's a lot harder to justify a $90,000 rep sitting there doing cold outreach. So we're seeing more in those companies, more contraction of sales a bit, or not adding salespeople to add sales. We're seeing companies, and this is the right move, increasing their spend and their efforts in business development, which is specifically one-to-one cold emails or text-based cold email outreach, and BDR, SDR type teams to go out and find decision makers, generate leads and appointments for sales. We're seeing a lot more effort in there because, again, it is so much harder to get a hold of and identify and get a hold of decision makers these days. So it's much more difficult to increase all that spend in sales reps. Again, the old adage, back in the day, if you had a B2B company and you had a sales team, if you wanted to add sales, you just added more salespeople. It doesn't work that way anymore. It's not the same thing, especially in small business. Got to put that money in the business development side first and then build a requisite lead base and appointments for the salespeople. Then you add salespeople only when you need them to take care of those inbound leads and appointments and ultimately working with customers. Okay? Hopefully that helps you. If you have any questions, reach out to us, kevinmdowney.com. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it, and we'll talk to you soon.